Troubles is in the news, of course, when you were growing up as a kid. Did you have any opinions at that time? Was there any talk about it at that time?
Other than the fact I didn't want to go up the north because it was only all, car bombings and everything. And I didn't want to go to London and, go on this, the tube over there in case it was bombed. But
See,
other than that, we never really heard on, unless, you'd heard on the 6 o'clock or the 9 o'clock news, but,
so
or if your parents were speaking about it.
yeah. Was there much conversation? Did you hear adults talking about it very
Not
much?
really, other than, oh my God, the IRA did it again, they blew up the hotel, or they did this, or they did that.
Yeah.
But, just in passing, if they heard it on the news or read it in the paper. But.
Did it seem very far away to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't something that was part of your everyday life,
No.
really.
No.
And now with the peace talks and everything, do you think in your lifetime you'll see this all resolved?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. It's going from generation to generation, so it's what they're brought up. Maybe in 20 years, maybe I might be wrong. The youth growing up now,
How often do you get back to Ireland now? How often do you get back to visit?
In the beginning when I moved in 87, it was usually every year and a half, maybe 2 years. Last month I actually went back for the first time in 5 years.
Wow.
Yep.
And who did you go with?
My daughter. I have a 9-year-old daughter.
Uh-huh.
So when she started school when she was 4.5, most of the airfares to Ireland at the time when I could go during our summer holidays, was crazy amount. They're talking $800 for one ticket. So 2 of you going? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I actually went back for the first time in 5 years. Big changes.
Tell me about those.
Big changes. Well, the last time that I had been there, we still had the Irish currency, the pound.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Now we had the euro.
Yeah.
So I didn't know the difference between a €5 and a €10, and then they had a €2 coin and a €1 coin. I'm looking at them funny in the store. I'm like, okay, which one is which?
Yeah.
A lot of new buildings, new shopping centres, awful lot of new houses, large, very large housing estates. Basically more built up, newer roads, a lot of bypasses connecting, one city to the other, which is good because the roads in Ireland, they were awful. Very, very narrow and everything, but now, they're nice. They're almost like a highway. Very good. Well, big change. The economy-wise, everything's so expensive over there now. I mean, when I was there, I'm looking at like the price of Levi jeans and wait a minute, I can get them for half price in America. I'm not buying these.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Very,
Even
very
food,
expensive.
Isn't food even as expensive? Yeah.
Yep.
And where did you stay? Did you stay with family when you were?
No, I stayed with friends.
Okay.
Yep, childhood friends that I grew up with.
Oh, that was
Yep.
good. And so were you right back in the neighborhood, kind of the area where you grew up?
In the same town, but not the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because they all moved out because, my friends, were at home with their parents. And then when they grew up and had their own kids, they moved to other areas of the town. So
Did you go back to the old neighborhood, right around it?
I drove by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drove by it, and I actually asked one of my old neighbours who was living in the house now. And kind of in the back of my mind, I would have loved to just go and knock at the door and say, can I just walk around for old time's sake?
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, well, if I did that, I wouldn't have the same memories.
You wouldn't, that's right.
Because everything would be different. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
vision it just the same way as when I left it.
Yeah.
19 years ago. Oof.
Wow, that long. Wow.
19 years in September. But it seems like only yesterday.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem that long ago.
Yeah. Good. Were there any interesting characters in your neighborhood when you were growing up?
Oh, there were many.
Tell me about one.
Oh, there was many. Well, let's see. If you went to the local chipper, usually in the evening time, there was a guy by the name of Dummy Farrell. We used to call him Dummy Farrell. He was, well, back when we were growing up, 11 or 12, we thought he was about 90, but he was probably only, in his late 40s, 50s. But they called him Dummy Farrell because he couldn't speak. He was deaf and dumb.
Uh-huh.
But he'd always try and run after you when you go into the chipper. So we used to kind of get chased by him a lot, but we always ran fast.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, what other characters are there? The local drunk of the estate. Watching him fall home from the pub and say, let's listen now for 20 minutes and then he'll be outside the door again because the wife be after beating him and
Oh,
yelling at him. And other than that, other characters I can't really recall.
Yeah.
No.
What was the best part about growing?
She's so fresh. She's so fresh.
Okay.
What was the best part? I think is what I was asking about growing up in Ireland.
Best part is my friends, my freedom.
Your freedom.
Yep.
Why? What's the difference between the freedom here and the freedom of Ireland? What was when you say freedom?
Well, basically, after school, you were out of the house until you were called in when it got night.
Yeah.
You know, you could go down to town if you wanted to. You know, you could ride your bike safely. You know, here, I wouldn't do that with my 9-year-old.
Yeah.
I won't leave my 9-year-old outside unless I'm outside with her.
Yeah,
It's-
it's changed.
Yeah.
How about in Ireland? Is it still safe, do you think, to let your 9-year-old out? most
In your
places?
neighborhood, yeah.
Yeah.
At night time now, you wouldn't let them walk down the town, you know, unless, you know, they were probably mid-teens. And even at that, to be, you know, straight to the store and straight back. But not like when we were growing up, we could walk through the town at any hour of the night and...
And know
you know.
you were safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. When you go back to Ireland, or when you think about it, what would be the smell that would bring back the memories? You know how you smell something and all of a sudden you start thinking.
I think the coal in the fire.
Yeah, the coal burning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The minute you walk into the house, I mean, fires in Ireland are lit at 8 o'clock in the morning, if not 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So the first thing you get when you walk in the door is the smell of coal.
Yeah.
Not so much wood because they don't burn a lot of wood. It's nearly all coal that they burn.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the smells.
Bring it back to you.
Yeah.
How about here? Do you have anything like the smell of bread cooking or anything that would remind you of home?
Not really, no. No, not really. Unless my mom made a stew. And then it's like being back home again.
Then you can smell that cooking.
Just close your eyes and I'm back in Barn Park.
Yeah. Now, eventually you came to the States. What was the deciding factor? What brought you to the United States?
Oh, let's see. I just turned 20. My parents, well, my dad mostly wanted to move to the States from way back in the 60s when he first got married. And they actually went to England instead. They stayed in England a little over a year and then they moved back to Ireland. But in the 80s, my dad was let go at work. So in early 80s, it was very hard to get by, especially when you had 3 kids, you know. So we lost the car, and you know, it was a great thing at the time to have a car, because of a Sunday, you'd go out for a Sunday spin. We didn't have the car anymore, so you didn't go on the Sunday spin. So I think over the years, my dad kind of got tired, and he didn't want the same thing for his kids, to be out of work at the time. In the late 80s, there wasn't much employment there. So he got the opportunity to get a green card. And because I was under 21, I would go under my parents' green card. So that's why we came over here. My mother had cousins over here, second cousins over here. So she knew the area. She'd been over a few times on vacation and stuff. So
You decided. Now that was
I
what
decided.
year? When did you come here?
1987, October of 87, yep.
Okay. And how did you get here? You came by plane?
Yep, came by plane. We arrived in JF Kennedy Airport. We had a minivan first leaving Clonmel, because there was 4 of us. So it was my parents, myself, and my older brother Sean. My younger brother couldn't get green cards at the time when he applied for our green cards. My brother was under 21. But by the time they were mailed out, he was over 21, so they deemed that, no, he can be part of it.
Yeah.
And my older brother was over 21, so he got his own green card. And it was kind of sad leaving my other brother behind, because there was only a year between us. He's only a year older than me, so part of me was saying, I'm off to America, and then part of me was saying, but my brother's here. Yeah. And that's the brother I always got on with, so that was kind of hard.
Lives in Cork now?
That's the one that lives in Cork now, yep.
Yeah.
So we always said, we'll try and petition for him to come in, but it took a few years. It took about 5-6 years for him to get.
And he was able to come then?
Oh, he was able to come. He stayed here for 2 years.
And then went?
Him and his fiancée, and then they went back to Ireland.
Yeah.
Started our family in Ireland.
Okay. So now you came to Kennedy, but where did you come? Did you come right to Fairfield area, or?
Came into Kennedy, and my mom's first cousin picked us up in Kennedy. And I thought Connecticut was very, very far away because it was around 5 o'clock in the evening, and we didn't get to his house until like 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Because he drove. He was an older man, so he didn't like driving on the highway, so he drove the post road from Kennedy Airport all the way. So I thought it was very, very far away. And I basically just hung out for 2 weeks. Got used to Fairfield and that, and then I said, okay, it's time to start looking for work. So I picked up the local Minuteman. Inside in the Minuteman was a job at People's Bank. And I'm like, what the heck, might as well. So I went down, filled out an application, and got a call a half an hour later, can you start Monday?
Wow.
I'm like, excuse me? Yeah, my manager that interviewed me asked me more about Ireland because her last name was Shannon, and she had ancestors that were Irish, so she asked me more about that and what she did about a cashier's position that I was applying for. Yeah, and I'm with People's ever since.
Wow.
Yep.
What an interesting story.
Yep.
That's something. And had you been in banking back in?
Oh, no. 2 weeks before I came to America, I was working in the local supermarket because I was, after leaving school, couldn't find a job. So I signed on what they call the dole, which is unemployment benefit. And once you're on unemployment benefit for like 2 months, you have to submit different places where you went for interviews and applied for a job and everything. And they were doing a scheme at the local supermarket where they were getting people that were on unemployment to go and work there because the other local supermarket, Dunn Stores, which is very famous chain supermarket, was on strike.
Oh, okay.
So they need the workers in Queensworth. So I went there and I worked for 2 weeks, and then I had to tell them that I was leaving to go to America. But I didn't tell them until the day before I left because I didn't want to lose my job and I wanted money in my pocket to go to America. Yep.
So that was really a success story to come here and get a job so
Right,
quickly.
right. Especially when I only worked for 2 weeks.
Wow. And did the rest of the family, were they able to get jobs that quickly too?
Well, my brother was in construction, so the day after he arrived, he already had a job lined up. My mother's first cousin had him already set up in a job, so he started the day after we arrived. So he was working right from day one, and I just wanted to relax a little bit.
Yeah, well, why not?
Yeah.
Get over the jet lag.
Yeah, there you go.
And how about your dad? Was he successful in finding something here?
He was, yeah. He became store manager of a swimming pool place.
Very nice.
Yep.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. So it was a good story, huh?
Yeah.
What did you think the U.S. was going to be like before you came?
I thought the buildings were going to be bigger. I thought it was more like New York City.
All of it would be more like New York City? Okay.
All of it would be more like New York City, like this, or like Dublin City, very, very big and, very built up. I knew there wouldn't be any mountains unless I moved, further north. That's what I miss most when I came here.
The mountains.
Is the mountains and the open fields.
Yeah.
Just go outside of my hometown. At the time, you could drive a mile outside the town either direction and be all open fields. Now it's like 4 or 5 miles outside the town, be open fields. But well,
yeah. So that was a big change to get used to. How about your friends? Did you miss your friends back home?
Very much.
Yeah.
Well, you picture being friends with somebody that lived in the same housing estate, lived 2-3 doors away from you, went to school with them since you were 4.5, 5, and then suddenly at 20 you take off.
Yeah.
You've been through a lot, like with your friends. They're more like your sisters and your brothers.
Right.
Because I had girlfriends and guy friends.
Yeah.
That we all hung around together.
Yeah.
But we kept in touch. The majority of us kept in touch. Some of them, they wrote for a few years, and you'd visit them like when you go back, and go for a jar or whatever with them.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And that was how you kept in touch with letters. You weren't making phone calls in those days,
Oh
particularly.
no.
No.
Oh no.
Able to do that.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Did any of them come out here to visit you?
One of them did. One of them, I had 2 very good friends. One of them came out to visit me. The other one, who I went to school with, who lived 2 doors away from me, was afraid of flying. And she actually planned to come here in October, just after 9/11.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she had planned like in June or July that she was going to come in October, and then after 9/11, she's like, Caroline, I can't come.
Can't put you off.
You have to come and see me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So she was afraid of flying to begin with, so.
Yeah.
Well.
Was it your plan to stay when you came? Did you make that this was it, or were you planning on going home?
When I first came, I wanted to stay. That was my intention, to stay. You know, get married here, have kids here, whatever. Go back on vacation. Then when I was here 5 or 6 years, and after being back home on vacation, I'm like, well, what am I doing here? All I'm doing is working. I'll go out on the weekends, and I was like, I'll stick it out for another few years. Then when I was here about 10 or 11 years, I decided to become a citizen. So that way, if I ever, on the back of my mind, not so much to become a citizen of the States, but in case I ever wanted to go back home and stayed at home more than a year, and then I wanted to come back in, if I only had my green card, you know, there'd be too many questions asked.
Yes.
Whereas if I was citizenship, I can come and go whenever I wanted to.
Yes.
You know, so now part of me wants to go back, and then part of me is like, I don't think so. After almost 20 years, I'm still undecided.
Yeah.
I think I'll definitely retire in Ireland.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't go prior to then, I'll definitely retire there. No, I'm still like, my home was always Ireland. You know.
So when you talk about home, you're talking.
Yeah, I'm talking about Ireland. Yeah.
And how now? You have a daughter.
Yep. My 9-year-old daughter is Feile.
And she's 9. You said.
She's 9 years old.
Okay. And does she go? What does she think of Ireland?
She loves it.
Does she?
She loves it.
Yeah.
Loves all my friends, and my friends have kids, like they're around her age, so she likes that as well. And she just likes, I think more so that she was around me more, because I work 3 jobs, so I'm on vacation and she's around me 24/7.
Yeah.
So I think she liked that aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
But she liked the open fields and just the fresh air. Right. The air is different in Ireland.
I know it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know she does some Irish dancing.
Yes, she does. She's taken the 2 years now.
And so she didn't get your tomboy gene, or did she?
No. Yeah. No, thankfully. A little bit tomboyish, but.
Yeah. But she likes the dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you sing?
Me, I haven't a note in my head.
You don't have a note.
I clear a pub very quickly.